Mackenzie Goteeks, the Mackenzie Biggs of your favorite anime. Welcome to a quick review or overview of 91 Days, Episode 1 and Episode 2. So I decided to catch up with 91 Days so I could keep up with it week to week. And it's really quite interesting, this anime, 91 Days, because I don't really remember many mafioso kind of animes that I've seen. The ones I prominently remember that could be called mafia animes or mafioso animes are Gangster, Bacano, and something I watched years and years and years, almost over a decade ago, Gungrave. Now, certainly this falls more into the um, camp where it's set. It's sort of like a revisionist history where it's set in Prohibition era with speakeasies and bootlegging and that sort of thing, and more traditional kind of mafioso families. It's more of a traditional tale rather than something that's heightened by some extraneous genre elements from other things mixed together. It's certainly not as far up as Onas as Bacano. It's not as obtuse as Gangster, and I'd say its storytelling is more similar to something like um, Gungrave, where it's a bit more subtle, a bit more calm. It's not at a breakneck speed. It's not that kind of thing. An interesting thing is the intro in episode 2. They specifically are trying to invoke Godfather imagery because 91 Days. I could swear that 91 is in the font Godfather font. If you guys have the Blu-ray box set or the DVD, you know there's a font for Godfather, and I think they're using the Godfather font for that 91 Days title logo. Now, I like the introduction. You know, very typical mafia fare. Some family murders some other family. Some Don goes down, and there's disarray and dissent within the ranks and or people, the families under them. So it seems as though Angelo Lagusa, I believe his family's name is, his father and his family, his mom and his brother, though it looks like his sister, but it's his brother actually, gets murdered by the Venetti family. But initially, his father assumes that the Don, who's actually gone down, was taken up by the Orco family. So these are name dropped. But it seems as though the Venetti family bumped his dad off in his childhood. And it's never as simple as that. It may seem as though the Venetti family are the ones that bumped his dad off, and we initially think that way, and Angelo initially thinks that way. But I don't think that's the case. I think there's more like a false flag thing going on with the Orcos involved and that sort of thing. So this power game that's going on between these families now when the Don died. So we cut to much later in the first episode where they're starting to bootleg with Cortio. Cortio is a childhood friend of Angelo's. And he's a very humble kid, and he's not as well off because you can see his mom slip some cakes and some money into him as a kid when he comes over to visit what was his name, Angelo's house and that sort of thing. And they're very much a brotherhood pairing there. They're very close to bond, and the only person he could really trust was Cortio, whose house he ran to after his family was murdered. And there was not much to really say in this. I think it's interesting that they set it in this bootleg environment. It takes loads of tropes of the mafia genre, particularly the Italian mafia genre, but then it also puts it in Prohibition era America, sort of, you could say. So it merges those kind of things at the same time. And then I think there's introduction of a character called Fango. And now Fango is interesting because I think the guy who created this anime certainly wears his influence on his sleeve. Fango is from the Orko family. He's one of the sons, and he's introduced, and he's so elaborate. He's so extravagant and over the top. But he looks not too unlike some of the characters in Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet adaptation, which is a contemporary adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, where the Capulets and the Montagues and the Capulets have become mafia like families. So they contemporized, these old, aristocratic families to become more like the mafia. And Fango very much dresses like something out of a Baz Luhrmann film. Now, in these two episodes, it becomes rather fortuitous and serendipitous for Angelo to, one, receive a letter which shows the names of every single person that killed his family. Now, that maybe I can understand at a stretch, but he seems to happen to, quite fortuitously bump into Nero Vanetti disguised as someone else in a club where they're trying to sell their bootlegged alcohol and liquor. So I feel as though that coincidence seemed to happen, so that it fell into place. But I'm glad that, as far as his revenge was concerned, that sort of got resolved at episode 2, where he obviously we discovered that the letter, the Venetis that he's met were all involved in the the assassination of his father. Um, Now, like what I love is the attention to detail with this Italian mafioso, set in America sort of tale, because there's the attention to detail about the rabid Catholicism that is within the mafia. They are still very religious people. Damn, they're going around murdering people, but they do hold on to their Christian Catholic kind of faith and stuff, and they always about pray to God before you get die, and sitting around the table, saying grace and all that kind of thing. So I love the attention to detail there. I feel as though some of these characters, I feel as though some of them was set up to have much longer presence in the show, but they got killed off. Like Serpenti got killed off. Clement got killed off as well. Even though there was a lot of attention to detail to their personality, the characters, the voice actors they got to voice them. But this is the nature of the mafia thing. One person here today, bubbly, lively, is gone tomorrow. And Fango still seems to be a persistent villain. But I feel as though the Glassy, these names are so hard to remember. The Glacias family, basically the head crime family from Chicago that runs the Orcos, runs the um, Venetis. I think as though that initial bump off of the Don at the beginning of episode 1 that we were heard about was actually orchestrated by not the Orcos, not by the Venetis, but rather internally within the family of the Glacias. Someone correct me, please, man. It's hard to remember. And it seems as though there's some false flag stuff going on where they want to either blame it on the Venetis, or they want to raise the suspicion that it might be Orcos. They want these families under them to be weakened and fight and that kind of thing. And I feel as though because of the mafia tropes, that some of these things might come to fruition, because they've drawn heavily on loads of other mafia kind of shows. So I'm really interested to see where this goes. I'm very interested to see where this goes now that he seems to have gotten his revenge. Angelo seems to have gotten his revenge. And I don't think it's as simple as that. I think there's more to it, and I think that letter he received to come back is a red herring. It was there to get him back, but that's not the whole story. And I think as these mafia tales goes, we get into the whole kind of complex conspiracy that goes on with this, and the political struggles and the struggle for power and territory and all that kind of thing. So I'm very excited for this show. This show has definitely started off promising, and where it goes from here, man, we'll get to see. So yeah, be sure to look forward to my episode 3 reaction for Night One Days, and thank you for watching.